Okay, so this section we're going to be looking at any changes within the behaviour or emotions within children as a response to them understanding about their parents' cancer. The changes will be impacted on depending on their age, their emotional maturity. So one 8-year-old will be very different from another 8-year-old. Their coping style, so for some children they are just generally, they internalise things and so be much more quieter, whereas other kids are like their level of understanding about cancer, what they actually understand, as well as what they understand about their parents' cancer, and how all of this impacts on their life, because they are egocentric creatures, children, and so what they would really want to know is, how is this going to affect me? So for younger kids, sort of under 3-year-olds, babies and toddlers, you may see changes in their sleeping or eating habits, and it's very difficult because they change so rapidly anyway, but you'll have an understanding whether that's due to sort of normal development or as a response to what's going on around. They may have tantrums and say no more, and that's kind of them trying to get some control over what they might be feeling and not able to verbalise their kind of life-changing. They may revert back to sort of behaviours that they've grown out of, such as sucking their thumb, or if they were out of nappies, they might start wetting themselves, and they will have a huge reaction of being separated. So for slightly older children, from 3 to sort of 5, 6-year-olds, they again will have massive separation anxieties, and this is often shown around about bedtime or dropping off at school or nursery. And for some children, they might suddenly start to be afraid of something that they weren't previously afraid of. So afraid of the dark, afraid of strangers, afraid of dogs, afraid of baths or something like that. They may also start having sleep problems, so they might having nightmares or sleepwalking. And for some children, they may start to behave, sort of act out, so start behaving a bit more aggressively. And this is all in them trying to gain some control over what they feel is becoming out of control. So for 6 to sort of about 11-year-olds, they have a sort of a wider range of emotions and can articulate it a bit more. So they might be easily embarrassed or ashamed, especially if their parent has any physical changes. So some children, they just won't have any reaction, which can be really hurtful to the parent, but actually this is them sometimes in denial. They just don't want to know about it. Or for some children, it's them processing themselves by themselves. Again, they might start suddenly being afraid of new things and new situations that don't seem to have any reason. Many kids also will have sort of physical manifestations, so they might complain of having headaches or stomach aches, and this can especially mirror what the parent might be experiencing. So if the parent is experiencing nausea, the child might complain of having stomach aches. Also, they might return back to the younger behaviours, so they might start acting sort of younger. And for some children, they try and mask how they're feeling by being extra good. So if they're really good, if they do their homework, if they help out at home, no one's going to question how they feel, because everyone will think they're okay. And for them, that's their coping style. So for sort of teenagers, sort of 12-year-olds, teenagers, they will struggle with being sort of normal development, which is to become independent of parents. So half of them wants to move away and become independent, and that's normal development, but half of them will feel guilty about doing that because they feel like they should be with their parent and looking after them or supporting them. And many kids use denial as a coping mechanism here. they shut it down, then it's not happening.